Om Ajnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun militam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganalabhugnathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahaganalalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajeshatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargenaya Kalpita. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradarahna Paraha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll not have our regular Srimad Bhagavatam class today. Today, according to our Vaishnav calendar, happens to be the disappearance day, anniversary of Sri Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. It is also the appearance day of Ganga Mata Goswamini, and it is also Ganga Puja. But we will not have time to discuss all three topics. We'll only talk about Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. Baladeva Vidya Bhusana is, of course, most famous for something. What is it he's most famous for? His commentary on the Vedanta Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita. And in Bhagavad Gita as it is, what do we find? What does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada says, to Srila Baladeva Vidya Bhusana, who presented so nicely the Govinda Bhashya commentary on Vedanta philosophy. In other words, Srila Prabhupada has dedicated this book, Bhagavad Gita as it is, to Srila Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. So we can understand that Baladeva Vidya Bhusana is certainly a very, very special personality who has made a very, very significant contribution to the Gaudiya Vaishnava heritage. If you see this page in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of the introduction, the last page of the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, what do you see here? The disciplic succession. You've all studied this carefully? This is very important for us because this is our basis. This is from where we are getting our knowledge. This is what makes our knowledge authentic, genuine. There is no spiritual knowledge without a disciplic succession. The bona fides of a spiritual person or some spiritual knowledge is established with respect to the parampara, the disciplic succession. Just like if you want to establish the bona fides of some student, you ask, okay, where are you from? Okay, I graduated from Cambridge University or London University or something like that. Then yes, he's bona fide. But if he's got his own university and he's graduated from his own university, then it doesn't carry much weight. Similarly, if a spiritual person says, well, I have no parampara, I have my own parampara, and this is something that I have realized on my own, then it doesn't carry much weight. So we must be linked to a bona fide parampara. So here in the last page of the introduction, Srila Prabhupada has given us that disciplic succession to which we stand connected. Where does Baladeva Vidya Bhushan's place come in this parampara? Actually, the list is of 32, starting with Krishna and coming up to Srila Prabhupada. It's only 32. And in that 32, there's Krishna, Brahma, Narad and Vyas. Vyasadeva was 5,000 years ago. So that means you cut out 4, so you have 28. You have 28 acharyas in 5,000 years. Quick calculation. Who's good at arithmetic? How much does it come to on an average per person? 150 years. 250 years. So does that mean that each acharya lived for 250 years? Sometimes devotees ask these questions. They read this. So what's the answer? From Vyasadeva, from the time Vyasadeva spoke to Madhvacharya actually is not even 1500 years. Madhvacharya was 800 years. Yeah. So from Vyasadeva down to the present time, there is a time gap. The answer, of course, is that this list that is given here doesn't include all the acharyas in the disciplic succession. It only lists out the prominent ones, the more important ones. Another point to note is that in the spiritual line, we talk of 2 kinds of gurus, actually more, but fundamentally 2. That's Diksha Guru and the Shiksha Guru. And the Diksha Guru is the one who gives us initiation. There is only one Diksha Guru. But Shiksha Gurus can be many. One can have unlimited Shiksha Gurus. So, Krishna manifests himself and reveals spiritual knowledge through the medium of Guru, the Guru Tattva. So our Gaudiya Vaishnava disciplic succession is a combination of a Diksha line and also a Shiksha line. Here, in some cases, there is a direct initiation, and in some cases, there is inspiration, there is instruction. So, if you see each of these personalities, you will see that there was Shiksha in many cases. Let's go back, because it's important to understand our heritage, isn't it? Our Gaudiya Vaishnava heritage. We should know where we stand. What before Prabhupada? without looking into your Bhagavad Gita, who is before Prabhupada in our list? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Srila Prabhupada took initiation, Diksha, from Bhakti Siddhanta. Who is before Bhakti Siddhanta? Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Bhakti Siddhanta took initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He took Diksha. Who is before Gaur Kishore Das Babaji? Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Did Gaur Kishore Das Babaji take Diksha from Bhakti Vinod Thakur? No. He took Shiksha. And then who is before Bhakti Vinod Thakur? Jagannath Das Babaji. Did Bhakti Vinod Thakur take initiation from Jagannath Das Babaji? No, he took Shiksha. He would attend his classes and he was greatly spiritually inspired by Jagannath Das Babaji. And then who was before Jagannath Das Babaji? Yes, you got a Bhagavad Gita there. Yes. Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. Right. So, did Jagannath Das Babaji take initiation from Baladeva Vidya Bhusana? No, there's a link. A link here. Baladeva Vidya Bhusana had a disciple. He had two main disciples. One was called Uddhav Das, the other was called Sri Nandan Mishra. This Uddhav Das had a disciple also called Uddhav Das. The second Uddhav Das had a disciple whose name was Sri Madhusudan Das. And he was famous as a Siddha Madhusudan Das Babaji of Surya Kund near Govardhan in Braj. And it was this Madhusudan Das who initiated Jagannath Das Babaji in the Babaji line. It's called a Paramhamsa Vesha. So he gave him Babaji initiation. So that is our connection up to Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. A combination of Diksha and Shiksha. And then what before Baladev? What is Baladev's connection to our line? It's interesting. So let's go back a little bit to see the history, life history of Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. There is no certain information about the exact time and the exact place of Baladeva Vidya Bhusana's appearance in this world. But it is generally considered that he appeared at the end of the 17th century in Balasore area, Baleshwar, in Orissa, in India. Baleshwar is famous because that's a district in which you have the place called Remuna. And what is Remuna famous for? Not Sakshi Gopal. Kheer Chora Gopinath. That's the deity who stole sweet rice for Madhavendra Puri. Right? Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu and others also visited that place, that temple. So he appeared there. And then his father was a Vaishya, an agriculturist and a merchant. But Baladeva Vidya Bhusana was not at all interested in mercantile activities. For his education, he was sent to the southern part of Orissa, where he studied Sanskrit, grammar, poetics, logic, etc. The usual things that young boys would learn when they were sent to a school. Very quickly, because of his keen intellect, he was able to grasp everything. But he was not satisfied with this kind of learning. There are two kinds of scholars. One is called a Pandit. A Pandit is the one who is generally proficient in things like grammar, logic, poetry, and maybe Ayurveda, cosmology, and such things. An Acharya is one who not only understands these things, but primarily focuses on philosophy, on tattva, on spiritual realization, devotional service, Vedanta. So Baladeva Vidya Bhusana wasn't satisfied with just grammar and logic and everything. He wanted to know philosophy of life. So he started studying the Vedanta. However, he was not fully satisfied. He wanted some deeper study of the Vedanta. So he left Orissa after his education. He didn't want to go back home and become a merchant. So he went southwards. He went to the city of Mysore, what is present-day Mysore, in the southern state of Karnataka. And near there was some ashrams that belonged to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, the Madhva Sampradaya, started by Sri Madhvacharya, coming in the line of Lord Brahma. And he heard from the sannyasis of that mutt various commentaries or discussions on the Vedanta Sutra, following in the line of Madhvacharya's explanations. He was very, very impressed with that. He decided to stay there. He took initiation in that line and eventually, very shortly, took sannyas also. So he was a sannyasi in the Madhva line. And he remained there studying the teachings of Srila Madhvacharya. After having become a very, very proficient scholar, a very keen debater, he moved back to Orissa, and this time he came to Jagannath Puri. In Puri, he engaged various local scholars in debate on theology, on philosophy, and very quickly he established himself as a scholar as of formidable knowledge. He was very well respected there. And as time passed on, he continued to engage in his scholarly pursuits. One day, he met a personality called Radha Raman Dev Goswami, who was a disciple of Nayanananda Goswami, who was a disciple of Rasikananda Prabhu. You've all heard of Rasikananda Prabhu? The great stalwart acharya and preacher. He is responsible for preaching the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in large parts of Orissa and Bengal, especially Orissa. It is Shyamananda Prabhu who is responsible for establishing this philosophy here. Rasikananda Goswami was a chief disciple of whom? Anyone? Shyamananda Prabhu. Shyamananda Prabhu of the Trinity. Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu and Srinivas Acharya. Right? The three original book distributors. So Shyamananda Prabhu was a disciple of? Who remembers? Hriday Chaitanya. Hriday Chaitanya was a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, and Gauridas Pandit was initiated by Nityananda Prabhu. So Radha Raman Dev Goswami came directly in a disciplic line connected to Nityananda Prabhu. He met Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. At this time he was not known as Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. And he started hearing the Gaudiya philosophy from Radha Raman Goswami, Radha Damodar Goswami, I beg your pardon. Radha Damodar Goswami explained all about the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about his teachings, about his Achintya Bheda Bhed philosophy. And he also explained to him the commentaries of Jiva Goswami, particularly the Bhagavad Sandarbha and the other of the 6 Tattva Sandarbhas. He was really impressed with the commentaries of Jiva Goswami. Having already been an accomplished scholar of the Madhva line, he found many, many deep similarities between the Madhva viewpoint and Jiva Goswami's teachings. But he understood there were some differences as well. And he found Jiva Goswami's presentations to be supremely logical, very, very profound. And then he decided to accept this path of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now, Radha Damodar Goswami accepted him as a disciple, but there could be no formal initiation. Radha Damodar Goswami told him that you're already initiated. and you're a sannyasi in the Madhva line, which is a bona fide disciplic succession of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas, the Brahma Madhva line is bona fide. And in fact, the Gaudiya Sampradaya is also connected to the Madhva Sampradaya. So Radha Damodar Goswami did not feel it proper to reinitiate Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. So he said, all right, we won't have an initiation ceremony, but what we'll have is a ceremony wherein you now formally accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You become his follower and you accept his teachings. So such a ceremony was held, and from that day on, Baladeva Vidya Bhusana formally became a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Now, his thirst was not quenched. He had just got the appetizer in the form of the Tattva Sandarbhas and his discussions with Radha Damodar Dev Goswami. He wanted more and more. He was thirsty for knowing more about Mahaprabhu and his teachings. So Radha Damodar Dev Goswami instructed him to go to Vrindavan to study under Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, in our line, as Prabhupada has mentioned here in the book, before Baladev is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But the connection between Baladev and Vishwanath Chakravarti is of Shiksha, not of Diksha. I already mentioned Baladeva Vidya Bhushan's Diksha connection. But it was common practice that sometimes Diksha Gurus would send their disciples to some accomplished scholar to study under them so that they would be trained up. Just like Hriday Chaitanya sent Dukhi Krishnadas, who later became Shyamananda Prabhu, to Jiva Goswami for Shiksha. Lokanath Goswami sent Narottam Das Thakur to Jiva Goswami. And also Gopal Bhatta Goswami sent Srinivasa Acharya to Jiva Goswami. So all three of them came and studied under Jiva Goswami. They were looked after by him, they were trained by him, and they were sent out for him and engaged in devotional service for book distribution and so on. So similarly, Radha Damodar Goswami also instructed Baladeva Vidya Bhusana to go to Vrindavan and study Bhagavad theology and philosophy under Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which he did. On the way he came to Navadvip, but he didn't stay there for long. He was so keen to study under Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that he quickly departed from Navadvip and went to Vrindavan. Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki jai, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Upon arriving in Vrindavan, he went up to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and introduced himself. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was extremely happy to see Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. He really liked his humility, his scholarship, his wonderful Vaishnava qualities, his keenness to learn. And Vishwanath Chakravarti said, all right, I will teach you the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Gaudiya literatures. And he also advised him to go to a devotee called Pitambar Das, who was an expert in Rasa Shastra. Rasa Shastra means those devotional scriptures that deal in the devotional mellows, rasas, more advanced texts of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So simultaneously, Baladeva Vidya Bhusana began to study under Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and also Pitambar Das. And very shortly, he mastered the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy and all the Siddhantas, all the conclusions. He became an accomplished scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now, he was confirmed Gaudiya Vaishnava preacher. He was sold out, completely dedicated to following and propagating the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, time passed. Meanwhile, in Vrindavan, there was trouble brewing because the Muslim kings, and particularly Aurangzeb and his followers, were creating much trouble. As you know, in Vrindavan, the 6 Goswamis had established the deities originally, but after that Aurangzeb had come and he had demolished many temples and destroyed many Vaishnava traditions or structures that pertain to the traditions of the Vaishnavas. And the devotees, the pujaris, had shifted many of these deities to the protection of the Rajput kings in Rajasthan, who were very valorous, and also they were Vaishnavas. They could stand up to the Mughals, to the Muslims, and they would protect the deities. So the original deities, actually of all the original deities of Vrindavan, practically only Radha Raman remained, because Radha Raman was very small in size. So therefore he could be easily hidden. But all the other deities, probably another deity is Vrinda Devi of Kamyavan, the original deity installed by Vajranabh. Otherwise, all the original deities established by the 6 Goswamis and their followers all moved to other parts. Mostly to Rajasthan and some to other parts. So Srila Jiva Goswami had established the Radha Damodar temple with the deity given by Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami also had personally established Radha Govinda temple. Gopinath deities were also there. So all these deities moved to Rajasthan. Govinda Dev initially remained for 1 month at Radha Kund, and thereafter for almost 30 years at a place called Kaman in Braj. At this time, when the deities were shifted out of Vrindavan to Kaman, the king of Ambar in Rajasthan was called Ram Singh. He was a pious Vaishnav, and he very much wanted to see that these deities would not be destroyed. So it was he who had arranged for the transfer of Govinda Dev from Vrindavan to Kaman, because Kaman came within the jurisdiction of his kingdom. And unfortunately, after some years, he passed away. Now, because Kaman was in his kingdom, the king was not worried, because there was full protection. After he died, his son Vishnu Singh also shortly died. And then there was the next king who was only 11 years old. He was Jai Singh. But this Jai Singh was a prodigy. He was brilliant. And he had visited Vrindavan at the age of 7, when his father was a military commander in that region. And he had been very deeply influenced by the mood of devotion to Krishna that he found in Vrindavan. And from that young age, he held it in his heart. And at the age of 11, he became the king, and very shortly thereafter, he decreed that Govinda Dev would move to a place near Jaipur, which was called Govindapur, just on the outskirts of Jaipur. So after 31 years of living, of staying in Kaman, Govinda Dev shifted to the outskirts of Jaipur. And Jai Singh, who was only a young lad, was very fond of taking darshan of Govinda Dev. Every day he would go. Now what was happening was that there was another group of saints called the Ramanandis. The Ramanandis claimed connection to the Ramanuja Sampradaya of South India. But this was, you could say, a North Indian branch of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. This Ramanandi sect was founded by a saint called Ramananda. And he was a kind of a reformer, a self-proclaimed reformer of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. The Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya of South India, essentially worshipped Lakshmi Narayan. And Ramananda established his worshipable deities as Sita Ram. Even today, in many of the holy places, you will find a Ramanandis. They look after the deities. They do their worship there. So a grand disciple of Ramananda, his name was Payahari Krishnadas. he came and settled down in a place near Jaipur called Galta. And there was a cave there. He lived in that cave. He was very austere. And he started preaching. And at that time, the king in that region was called Prithviraj Singh. His wife was called Balanbai. And she was very much influenced by the teachings of this Payahari Krishnadas. And she became his disciple. And she influenced her husband, the king, to make a monastery for the Ramanandis at Galta, near Jaipur. And so Galta became the headquarters of the Ramananda Sampradaya, the North Indian branch of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. And till today it has a very important place in North Indian Vaishnava history. But of course there were some differences. Now these people were very prominent in the life of the royalty and in their influence over that region, and this continued for 3 generations, including Prithviraj Singh. So by the time Jai Singh came to power, the Ramanandis were already well established in that region. When Govinda Dev came to Jaipur, to the outskirts, and the king, Jai Singh, was seen to be a keen devotee of Govinda Dev, and the worshippers and the pujaris of Govinda Dev were the Gaudiya Vaishnavas who came from Vrindavan, the Ramanandis started feeling a little threatened. They felt that their influence over the king, their influence over the region would diminish. Because now, if the king gave importance to Govinda Dev, then naturally the Gaudiya Vaishnavas would become prominent, they would become more influential. Then what would happen to the Ramanandis? This was their apprehension. And therefore, they tried to influence the mind of the king and tell him that actually the Gaudiya Vaishnavas were not a bona fide sampradaya. They told the king that these people say that they are Vaishnavas, but according to the Puranas, there are only 4 Vaishnava sampradayas. And these people don't have any sampradaya. So the king wrote a letter to the Mahants of the Gaudiya Vaishnava deities of the temples who were in that region now, all of them having shifted from Vrindavan recently. And one of them, Shamacharan Sharma, he replied in Sanskrit to the king that actually we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is directly the Supreme Lord. It is the Supreme Lord who begins all the sampradayas which are bona fide. So this is our lineage. We have no further need to connect up anywhere. When the king conveyed this to the Ramanandis, they were not satisfied. He says, no. They said that the Puranas only talk of 4 sampradayas. It doesn't talk of 5 sampradayas. So if these Gaudiya Vaishnavas are saying that there's a new sampradaya started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is not borne out by the scripture. So therefore there's something wrong here, we don't accept this. So like this, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas were becoming a little disturbed. And then the Ramanandis were stepping up their propaganda. And then they came to Maharaj Jai Singh and said, see, these people worship Radha along with Krishna. Now Radha is not married to Krishna. Therefore worship of Radha along with Krishna is not proper. Because it means that you are condoning the relationship that Radha has with Krishna, which is out of marriage. Therefore it's not proper. You see that Sita is married to Ram, so worship of Sita Ram is alright. Lakshmi is a wife of Narayan, so worship of Lakshmi and Narayan is alright. But these people are worshipping Radharani with Krishna, which is not bona fide. It is not substantiated by anything, by tradition or by sampradaya. So therefore we must separate Radharani from Krishna, keep her in a separate room and worship her separately. And furthermore, these Gaudiyas, they do not worship Narayan. They do not give primacy to Narayan. Instead, they give primacy to Krishna. So when all this was going on, the local Mahants were getting more and more disturbed. And Maharaj Jai Singh, although he was very, very sympathetic to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because he was very devoted to Govinda Dev, but nonetheless, He didn't want a great disturbance in the kingdom, a theological disturbance. So then he told the Gaudiyas, well, you please come back with some response. But come back with a response that will be fitting and that will satisfy the Ramanandis. This was going on for some time. And then finally, the message reached the ears of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who was an old man by now. He was in Vrindavan. He said, I am too old to go there and present the Gaudiya point of view. Then he called Baladeva Vidya Bhusana and he said, you should go. Because by now Baladeva Vidya Bhusana had established himself as a great scholar in his own right. So he said, this is the problem that is going on. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had been following the developments in Ambar, in Jaipur area, with keen interest. And then he told Baladeva Vidya Bhusana that these people are quoting this verse from the Puranas, which say that there are 4 sampradayas, and it also says, Iti Utkale Purushottama, that all these 4 sampradayas should have their mutt at Utkal, Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri. Then Baladeva Vidya Bhusana said that I understand the meaning of this verse to be that in Utkal, that Purushottam, Sri Krishna has appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore his sampradaya is not a 5th sampradaya, rather it is the essence of the 4 sampradayas. It combines and harmonizes the teachings of all the 4 sampradayas. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, but they do not accept that. Baladeva Vidya Bhusana was saying that what is the need to establish our lineage? We are connected to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they said, no, they don't accept that. So then all night long, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladeva Vidya Bhusana discussed strategies for how to counter the Ramanandi's aggression. And then Baladeva Vidya Bhusana, being well trained and equipped by his own knowledge, and also the strategies given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the mercy of the Lord, he departed for the Jaipur region. Having reached there, it was difficult for him to get an audience with the king because he was not a well-known scholar in that part of the country. And he was also a very young man. So people didn't take him initially so seriously. But somehow or other he got an audience with the king. And he told the king that I have come to clarify the misconceptions about the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The Ramanandi representatives in the court said, no, we should also be there. He must talk to us. So then Baladeva Vidya Bhusana began expounding on the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, on the tenets of the philosophy. And they began to counter. He said, you people, you are not connected to any sampradaya. So then Baladeva Vidya Bhusana said, actually I am a sannyasi from the Madhva sampradaya. I have accepted sannyas from one of the sannyasis who are followers of Madhvacharya. So then they replied, you may be a sannyasi of the Madhvas, but the other Gaudiyas are not connected to the Madhva line. He says, actually, in the Gauda Ganodesha Deepika of Kavi Karnapur, it is mentioned the whole disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and how it links up to the Madhva line is also mentioned. Actually, this list that Srila Prabhupada gives here, the disciplic succession, actually comes from Kavi Karnapur's Gauda Ganodesha Deepika. That gives the entire list of who took initiation from whom. So then, the Ramanandis were very clever. They said, all right, if your book says that you're connected to the Madhva Sampradaya, that means that you should accept the commentary of Madhvacharya for the Vedanta Sutra. Do you accept that? But you do many things that are different from what the Madhvas do. Where is your commentary on the Vedanta Sutra? At that time, Baladeva Vidya Bhusana replied that actually the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Bhashyanam Brahma Sutranam. The Bhagavatam itself says that it is a natural commentary on the Brahma Sutras or the Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, where is the need for another commentary? the author of the Vedanta has himself written a commentary on his own work. This is called an auto-commentary. An auto-commentary is a device that is commonly used by our acharyas. Like, for example, Sanatana Goswami wrote an auto-commentary on the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. They write a book and then write a commentary on their own book to explain that. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam is an auto-commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So then the Ramanandis said, no, that means you don't have a commentary? Are you saying that you don't have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra? Any sampradaya that is bona fide must have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So now this was getting more and more unpleasant. So at that time Baladeva Vidya Bhusana boldly declared that, all right, I will get you the commentary of our sampradaya. So the Ramananda said, yes, send someone immediately and bring it in a couple of days. So Baladev said, no, I have to write it and give it to you. So they were stunned. So what? You're going to write a whole commentary on the Vedanta Sutra in just a few days? He said, yes. Very boldly, having complete faith in his Guru and Krishna, he replied. And there was an uproar. But of course the Ramanandis were then silenced for a while, because what could they do? In the meanwhile, King Jai Singh intervened. And he said, all right, we will give you this much time, and you should come back with a commentary, and then all the Ramanandis should be satisfied with this commentary. King Jai Singh himself was a great scholar. He was also very thirsty to learn about Gaudiya Vaishnavism, about the principles of Vaishnavism. He wanted to harmonize all the different Vaishnava schools. And he even wrote a book on that. He studied all the works of the 6 Goswamis. He studied all the other scriptures, apart from doing his kingly duties. So he really wanted the Gaudiya Vaishnavas to come up with something nice. So Baladeva Vidya Bhusana was really in a quandary. In desperation, he went to the temple of Lord Govinda Dev. He prostrated himself and offered full obeisances. There are some accounts which say that at that time the garland from the neck of Govinda Dev fell down, and the pujaris came and offered that garland, placed it around the neck of Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. In some accounts this is not mentioned. In Baladeva Vidya Bhusana's own work, later as an addendum, he mentions that Govinda Dev appeared to me in my dream. After I had offered obeisances and begged him for some strength and mercy, later that night he appeared to me in my dream and ordered me to compose a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and said that I will write it for you. So you feel no nervousness. Go ahead with enthusiasm and do it. And no one will be able to refute the conclusions that you present in your commentary. So actually the Lord appeared to him, Govinda Dev deity appeared to him in his dream. And then, when he awoke, Baladev began to write the commentary. Day and night he just wrote and wrote and wrote. Some say that it was for a week, some say it was for a month. Regardless, it was for a fairly short period of time. Baladeva Vidya Bhusana had now composed a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra that normally would have taken years and years for the others to do. And because it was Govinda Dev who had inspired it, and Govinda Dev had said he had written it, he was writing through the medium of Baladeva Vidya Bhusana. So Baladev titled the commentary Govinda Bhashya. Such extraordinary works are actually personally composed by the Lord. The devotee is simply used as an instrument. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, that I am old, I am invalid, I am practically blind, I am practically deaf, I'm all bent over, I'm coughing, my hands tremble as I write, but still it's a wonder of wonder that still I'm composing this whole work, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these are not ordinary works penned by the figment of one's imagination, of one's fertile brain coming from the illusory energy of the Lord. These are directly words of the Supreme Lord. So Baladeva Vidya Bhusana was now ready with his commentary, and he went into the court of the king, Jai Singh. All the Ramanandi scholars were surprised. Yes, you have your commentary. Yes, here it is. And these are the conclusions. So then the Ramanandi scholars, they started going through and said, yes, there are many, many common points with the Madhva Sampradaya. And then one by one, Baladev started pointing out portions of the commentary which answered their questions and their doubts. In this section of the commentary, you will find the answer of why worship of Srimati Radharani with Krishna is bona fide. Whether you accept Radharani as being married to Krishna, which is the Swakiya ras, or whether you accept her as not being married, the Parakiya ras, both are eternally valid, and therefore there is no fault in worship of Radharani with Krishna. And therefore Radharani must be reunited with Krishna. And as far as giving primacy to Narayan, all the Shastras say that Krishna has numerous forms, including Narayan, and nowhere in the Shastra does it say that you cannot worship Krishna alone, that you must worship Krishna with Narayan. And like this, he pointed out all the different passages in his commentary which addressed the doubts of the Ramanandis. And as the discussion went on, the Ramanandis were completely silenced. They had no answers to give. At that time, Jai Singh was overjoyed. All the Gaudiya Mahants and the Vaishnavas who had come there were overjoyed. And Jai Singh declared that Baladeva Vidya Bhusana and the Gaudiya Vaishnavas had emerged victorious. And that they were indeed a bona fide sampradaya. And they had all the rights to continue worship of Govinda Dev. The Ramanandis accepted defeat. In all humility, they came up to Baladeva Vidya Bhusana and wanted to accept initiation from him. And he said, no, you are all exalted saints and you are connected to the Sri Sampradaya of Srila Ramanujacharya. For me to reinitiate you would be an offense to Ramanuja, to Lakshmi Devi and to your whole Sampradaya. You are a bona fide Sampradaya and therefore I cannot reinitiate you. But Baladeva Vidya Bhusana had performed the important task of establishing the bona fides of the Gaudiyas. That was his major accomplishment. At that time, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Mahants, they, on the top of a hill which they called the Victory Hill, established a deity which they called Vijay Gopal, the victorious Gopal, to commemorate this historic occasion. So Baladeva Vidya Bhusana's contribution is indeed very, very significant. This happened at a place called Galta, where the Ramanandis had their headquarters. And then Baladeva Vidya Bhusana came back to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and all the Vaishnavas there, including Chakravarti Pad, were very, very happy. Chakravarti Pad embraced Baladeva Vidya Bhusana and blessed him heartily. And soon thereafter, Baladeva Vidya Bhusana departed from this world to re-enter the eternal pastimes of Shri Radha Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And Baladeva Vidya Bhusana became the undisputed leader of all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in Vrindavan. He wrote many, many books. Govinda Bhashya, of course, is the most famous amongst them. But he wrote commentaries on the 9 principal Upanishads, on the 10 principal Upanishads. He wrote commentaries on the 9 books of the Goswamis. Plus he wrote many, many other books. And we can see the importance given to Baladeva Vidya Bhusana by Srila Prabhupada's dedication of Bhagavad Gita as it is to Baladeva Vidya Bhusana and his Govinda Bhashya. Srila Baladeva Vidya Bhusana is a very important acharya for us. After his departure from this world, there was a dark period in Gaudiya Vaishnava history, till the time that Bhakti Vinod Thakur came up on the horizon like a sun. And from the time of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the sun has been rising. And then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it was rising even further. And with the coming of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, that sun was now blazing all across the planet. And we are beneficiaries of those soothing rays, the warm rays of the sun of Krishna consciousness which we have received. Srila Baladeva Vidya Bhusana ki jai. It was after this victory in Galta that he got the title Vidya Bhushan. He whose ornament is knowledge, transcendental knowledge. So we can beg to Baladeva Vidya Bhushan for his mercy, that we may also understand what pure devotional service is all about, and that we may also become followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I have gone over the time. Hare Krishna.